Hi guys, so I wanted to make a video today showing how you can create lifecycle management policies within Google Cloud Storage. Um, and before I do that, let me just quickly introduce what Google Cloud Storage means, if you're not familiar with it. So Google Cloud Storage is a managed service for unstructured data that Google provides. So if you've used any Google any GCP services really, you most likely may have come across this service. So what it really is a file system place that you can upload your data, you can upload objects, you can upload videos. Think of any sort of data that you have in your file system, or you have anything that you want to store really. Google provides that. So one way, if you're not familiar with how it works, is think of your file system, the local file system in your computer. Like if you want to store, I don't know, it could be a text file, it could be an image, it could be any document that you have in your laptop currently, and you want to store it. You will probably, most places that people do that is desktop, or you can create a folder and just dump any data that you have in there. It could be any videos that you have, it could be images, anything really in your local computer system. That's what you do. You can upload that. Now the one of the downsides that you run when you are storing files in your local environment is the space, because you have limited. Sometimes some computers come with 256 GB, could be more, could be less. So if you have a lot of files that you need to store in your local file system, then you'll run out of space after some time. Now, when it comes to big industries or big companies where you have a lot of data that is coming in, streaming in, if you have a disk or a hard drive that you use, it can be, I mean, there are a lot these days. Hard drives are very cheap, and disk drives that you can store, they are very cheap. But what Google Cloud Storage provides you is it allows you to store petabytes of data, like huge files that you may have, and you can store all of that data in Google Cloud Storage. It is not very expensive. It is cheap. If you want to learn the pricing, there are a lot of resources that Google provides. There are links, and I provide the links later in this video link in the description. But really, what Google Cloud Storage allows you to do is to upload file objects. I'm tempted to say files, but it's not just files. It's anything that you have. You can upload them and access them whenever you want. Now, what happens is that when you have a lot of data, if you're a big company and you have a lot of data that you want to store, sometimes there are some data that you may not necessarily use frequently, but you still need them maybe one time, like once a year, once after every 6 months, could be anything. So, you don't want to be getting charged for that data if it's just sitting there and you're not using actively. So what Google has provided is what they call storage classes, and these storage classes within these are just a way of storing your data within Google Cloud Storage itself. And there are about 4, I believe. Yeah, there are 4 storage classes currently that Google provides within Google Cloud Storage, and they come with different features and different capabilities. So I'm just going to walk through quickly what each of those classes mean, and then we can go to a demo on how you can create and upload objects to Google Cloud Storage. And the most importantly, at least for this video, is how you can set lifecycle management policies, because sometimes you use, you upload your data, and after some time you want to transition that data, basically age it, because no longer you need it, or you may need it after some time. So there are scenarios where you just know that this data, I need it now, And there are scenarios where, if I don't access this data for like after 30 days or after 60 days, then I don't want to be getting charged. So that is what lifecycle management really means, how you can just edge your data um, and put policies for data that you may not actively need, but you may need down the road. So we'll talk more about that shortly. So let me just currently, like, if you see my screen here, we have like about 4 storage classes: standard storage, nearline storage, coldline storage, archive storage. So these are the storage classes that you find within Google Cloud Storage. In other cloud providers, I'm not so sure about Azure, but in S3, that's AWS, they do also have sort of similar capabilities where you can edge your data, depending on the accessibility and the frequency of use. They do have sort of similar tiers of storage classes for you to store your data. So coming back to to GCP, the first storage class that you will come across is this standard storage, and this is the one that most people use or frequently by default. Whenever you create a packet, it defaults you to standard storage. And this one, this is mostly used for data that is frequently accessed, or they call them hot data. Or you just want to play with GCS, you most likely will want to just use this. So say you just want to test how GCS works. So you create a packet, and then after that you delete it. Then there's no point of storing that in nearline or cold storage or archive, for example. So standard storage is really for data that is frequently accessed. If you touch the files, almost every day, or more than once a month, really, this is the best storage that you use. And this one, you don't get charged for retrieval fee. So, like, let's say you're accessing the data, you're just downloading it or reading it through APIs, you don't get charged for fees for this storage class. So that is the default one. That whenever you create, it usually goes to this, unless you manually change it. The second storage class that is provided by Google Cloud Storage is nearline storage, and this is really used for highly durable storage. It is a highly durable storage service for storing infrequently accessed data. So if you don't access your data that frequently, then this is one of the storage classes you could use. And basically, this is the use case for this. It's good for data that you access less than once a month, or just once a month, let's say. So, if you access once a month, then this is the best storage class that you can use, nearline storage. And the retrieval fee for this one is $0.01 per GB. So if, for example, say you have like 5 MB you have 5 MB peak of data, then there's no fees that you get charged if you put it in this storage class, if you access that. So they only bill you once you access data that goes beyond 1 gigabyte. And it's also good for backups. If you have data that you're packing up, you can pack it up and put it in this storage class. For coldline storage, this is also a very low cost and durable as well. So all of these storage classes are quite durable, and availability of them, they are quite available, although the availability sort of goes down a bit, starting from standard storage all the way to archive. Their availability might slightly reduce. I'll give the link for you to read more and see the actual figures for the availability for this. But they are very durable for them, for all of them. and the retrieval fee for this one is 0.02 per gigabyte. So you'll see that as you go down the storage classes, the retrieval fee sort of increases. But the inverse is true. So if you're storing data in standard storage, it costs more to store in standard storage than the rest of this. But there's no retrieval fee for standard storage. So say you are storing 1 terabyte of data. It costs more to store it in standard storage than the rest of this other one. But now the inverse of that is if you're retrieving that much data, that amount of data, if you store your data in any of these other storage classes, then the fee increases whenever you want to retrieve that data. So coldline storage, the retrieval fee is 0.02 per gigabyte, and this is good if you are accessing your data less than once in a quarter. So like after every 3 months, if you have data that you think you access once after every 3 months, then this storage class is a good one for you. So like we said, this one is 30 days, nearline storage is 30 days. This one, coldline storage, is for less than once a quarter, so that is after every 3 months. If you access once in after every 3 months, then this may be a good candidate for that. And then finally we have the archive storage. So this one is the lowest cost. So if, like I said, if you have either terabytes or petabytes of data that you want to store, and you're looking for a cheap place to store them, this is where you store them. Now, like I mentioned for this other one, this one, the retrieval fee is 0.05. So you can see it's increasing down for the retrieval fee. Now, for archives, just like the name is saying, this is good for data archiving, online backup, or disaster recovery. So if you're packing up data for legal purposes, 8 years or more, and you want to pack up that data, then archive storage may be good. Now keep in mind that this one is good if you are accessing this data for less than a year, for archiving purposes or disaster recovery. So if for example, say your disaster recovery, you may need this data to access this data more frequently and not once in a year, then you may have to consider these other storage classes. But if you just need it once a year, then archive storage may be the best candidate for you. So yeah, archive storage, coldline storage, nearline storage, and standard storage. Those are the storage classes we have. Now, one more thing before I forget, if you store your data in archive storage, whenever you need to retrieve it, your data will almost be immediately available. So let's say you've left your data here for 1 year or 2 years, and you just want to retrieve it. That data will be available for you to use almost immediately. Now compare this to other cloud providers, like for example, in S3, I think they have Glacier or Deep Glacier, S3 Deep Glacier. Those are the archiving storage classes they have in S3. And whenever you need to access that data, it will take you, I believe, more than a day. I could be wrong, but I think it's definitely several hours for you to retrieve that data. For it to be available for you to use, it takes several hours. But in GCS, when you're accessing data from archive storage, your data is almost available immediately. It doesn't take hours or days. So these are the 4 classes that we have in GCS storage. So now, before I code the demo, let me quickly mention one thing about the object lifecycle management. Now, this is a feature that is offered by GCS to manage storage costs. And when you create this lifecycle configuration rule, it's on packet level. You create it on packet, not the object level. And you can apply the patterns to restrict objects within the lifecycle rules itself. So say you have like .txt, .json, .csv, or any other naming convention that you have in your data, and you don't want to apply the policy on all of the objects, then there's a way you can set the lifecycle rule to only apply to specific patterns or prefixes or naming conventions for the objects that you have within your GCS cluster or packet. So the rules are applied on the packet level, not the object level. So yeah, that is just the high level. I mean, there's a lot of information around lifecycle management, policies within GCS, and even the storage classes. There's a lot of information also. If you want to go deeper and look into the, more information, regarding prices. I didn't include the pricing here for all of the storage classes because it differs between regions. If you are in US East or US Central, there is variation with the cost that between the storage classes that you have to pay. So I'll put the links there in the description section for you to go and check. So let's go back and take a quick look on how you can create these objects and put them into these different classes. And after that, I will show you how to do the object lifecycle management, how to create the policies and apply them to objects in your packet. So let's do that. So I'm going to share my screen. First of all, we will do it in 3 ways. The first one I'll show you is how to create the packet itself, generally how to create the packet and upload files to it. And then after that, I will show you how you can set the lifecycle management rules to objects within your packet. So let's go to the console. I'm going to share my screen and we can go to GCP console. Now, if you don't have an account with Google, you can go ahead and just go to Google. I think it's GCP console. GCP console. If you Google there, you can sign in and create. I think they give you a trial account if you're new to it. They give you about credits that you can use for almost a year. But for me, I've been using this for some time now, so I no longer have free credits, but it's not very expensive. So if you're using like the instances, the computer instances, then or other services, the virtual machines, if you're not actively using them, you can spin up one and delete it or just pause it, and it's not going to charge you a lot of money. But anyway, so once you go there, once you are in the console, to navigate to Google Cloud Storage, I think it is in, I believe, analytics. No, it's in storage. So it's in storage. You click here, and if packets, it will lead you there. I have also pinned it. So I have pinned this one, and whenever I open this page, by default, it will be showing up here in the pin section. So let's go back through this one. Cloud storage packets. If you click that, it will lead you to this page. So let me just show that again. Yeah, so let me just open a new screen. Chrome. Sorry, I'm already there. I'm already in Chrome, so GCP console. And then by default, I'm already logged in. So if I need to go to GCS packet, like I mentioned, it's in the pin section. If you pin it, go to packets, and yeah, it will lead you to your packets and the packets that you have there that already listed there. So I have this packet currently listed in my GCS packet, So if you want to create a new one, you can just go ahead and create it. So you can put this demo bucket 1, 2, 3. Just make it unique because it has to be globally unique. So for this purpose, I'm just going to make it just something simple like that. So click next. It will ask for default region. I'm not going to change any of that. And like I mentioned before, by default, the class that you will be given is the standard storage class. So, and you can see the rest of the other classes. There is this auto class. This one basically allows you, if you set this one, if you put it here, if you set your default class to be auto class, then I think behind the scenes it's using sort of machine learning that it looks at your objects. If you're not accessing them frequently, then eventually it will move them down the storage classes, so that you don't get charged a lot of money. But yeah, you can see it by default giving you the standard as the default storage. So for now, we'll leave that on there. Click next. Here is control access list. So this one you can set access. You can enforce your access here, and by default is I'm not letting this one to be publicly accessible. So you can click next, and this one is versioning. If you want to set versions to your class or to your objects, you can put them. Let's say if you delete an object within your bucket accidentally, then versions for that object will be restored, will be put in there. But for this one, I'll just leave this one, no versions for this, and then go ahead and create it. So you can see this pop up and post public access prevention on this object. Yes, I want that. So you can go ahead and create it. And yeah, as you can see here, you come to this bucket. This is your bucket here. Now, if you go to the bucket list, you can see this is that bucket that's created, and by default, the storage class is standard. So if you click in there to upload objects to this, you can see here you have upload files, upload folder, create folder, transfer data. So if you just want to upload, you can just go ahead and click that to upload data in there. And here I have like some files, random files. So I'll just click one and put this one here, upload this one here. So this is a CSV file that I have that I had in my local environment. So it's uploaded successfully, and you can see the storage class for this one is set to standard. So that is the default one. Now, once you have uploaded your file, then you can use it whichever you want to use it. But your file is here, and it's successfully uploaded. So assume assume now that you want to move this file to the different storage classes. So there are different ways of doing this. The first one, like I mentioned, is when you're creating the bucket. If you just want to create a bucket that by default is in either nearline, coldline, or archive, then you can specify that when you create the file. Like for example, let's just do quickly that. So you can create a bucket. I think if you go here and create a bucket, you can specify it before you create it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is the same bucket. And let's just go quickly through this right here. So it says choose your storage class for your data. So assuming you don't want the standard, assuming you already know the data that goes to this bucket, and you know that this is archive data, I want this data to stay here for 1 year or 30 days. Depending, if you already know that beforehand, then you don't have to set the lifecycle rules for that. You can go ahead and create a bucket and say, let's say for nearline, for example, if I know that this is data that I will only be accessing it once a month, then I can do nearline for that, and then I will go ahead and create it. So once I create that bucket, then let's see if I can see it in my bucket list right here. See that? It says nearline. That's the bucket I created. So now for data that goes here, if you have the data already, or you have the data already that needs to go here, then you can go ahead and upload that there. Just the way it is. There's another way that you can do it programmatically using gsutil command, which is a utility that lets you upload files to the bucket using your command line, and we're going to use that one shortly. So that is just the other way that the other easier way really that you can use. You can set your default storage class during creation of the bucket. Now let's go back to this one, the bucket we just created a minute before, and this is when you don't specify the storage class itself. Say by default it goes to standard, but then you realize that some of the objects that are within this class needs to be moved to different storage classes. Now the nice thing with GCS buckets is that you don't have to change the bucket name. You can just you can change, you can set the storage class to differ for all the objects that are within that bucket, so that in future, say you want you have your code somewhere, your program somewhere that usually uses this bucket, then you can still access that object within the bucket without having to change the bucket name. So if you want to now change the object, this ESP file that I have here, if you want to move it to coldline storage, then what you have to do is to add the lifecycle role. So for that one, if you go up there, you see object configuration. If you go this, if you navigate to this lifecycle tab here and click it, then it will lead you to this page. Now to go ahead and add your policies or rules, then you need to click this one, add this tab here, add rule. Click that one, and then it will pop you this tab here will pop. Now this is where you can set the storage class. So remember that one we had it set to nearline storage, sorry, to standard storage. So if you want to set this one to any of these other ones, so let's say you want to set this to coldline, for example, assuming this data you only access once a quarter. So then you click that one, and then you select that one for coldline storage. It's the same thing to any of these other ones, and then click next. So here now you set the conditions that should be applied to these objects whenever any of these apply. So it could be object name prefix, like I mentioned before, if you want just to put objects that have specific naming convention, or objects that end with a certain extension. It could be .jpeg, .json, .csv, any of those, all of those, and you can set multiple here. So up here, I think you can only, you can select, you can select it, you can select all of them really. So if you have naming prefix, you just put it there, and then the suffix as well, and then a lot of these other ones. It could be a custom time, it could be a live date, it could be storage class that merge storage class created before. But for me, I'm just going to use the edge for this, and say if the object has been, let's say 30 days since it was uploaded to this bucket, if that object could be a file, could be a video, if it's been more than 30 days, then I want it to be moved to coldline storage. So you click that, click continue, and then you create it. So once you create it, then this rule is going to be here. So you can see here, say set to coldline after, for objects that have been here for 30+ days. So this also applies to objects that have already been uploaded to this bucket. So if you have, say this file, you had files that were already sitting there for more than 30 days, Then once you create this rule, those objects automatically, this rule is going to apply to them. And then now for any new coming files, once they are past 30 days, then they will be getting moved continuously to coldline storage. So that is how you create this rule here. If you create it through the console, note here that it says it may take up to 24 hours for this rule to take effect. So you may not see it immediately. You may not see it immediately. So if you go back with the object file and see it's still saying storage class is standard. So if you come back, after 24 hours, could be lower than that, you will see that this storage class has been set to coldline. And I think I was playing with this earlier with some of the objects that I have within this packet, I believe. So see here, some of these ones I put a lifecycle rule earlier that says, for any object that has been more than 5 days, move them to coldline. I had to wait some time for that. All of these were in standard storage, but I set that rule, and now you can see that this object is now set to coldline, and I did this one for specific objects, here. I think I did apply for those that had .json, I believe so, yeah. So let me put it on lifecycle rule and see what I had in there. Does it let me? Yeah, right here, actually. It is, yeah. It mentions here. So 5 days, and then name matches suffix.json. So this is for all objects that have been sitting here for more than 5 days, and they are .json files. So those ones will be getting moved to coldline. So if you see here, all of the JSON files are in coldline, and they are more than 5 days. And the way you determine whether they are more than 5 days is a created date. So if you see this one was created, I created this one sometime last year. So some of these are definitely way more than 5 days. So behind the scenes, this life cycle rule, when you set it to H, it uses the created date. So it looks at when the object was created and then just counts it from today back, like up to 10. If it's more than 5 days, more than 30 days from today, then it's going to be set to coldline. So that's how you do it. So I showed you 2 ways. When you're creating the package itself, that's how you do it. You can set a class, or when you already have the object in your packet, that's how you did for this one here. How can you move it to different class? And we set the lifecycle on right here. So we said this one is more than 30 days. So this object will not be moved to coldline until after it has stayed here for 30 days. So now the last piece that I wanted to show you guys is, say if you already have the object itself in your packet, it's currently in one of the storage class. So let's say by default you uploaded it to standard storage class, and you want to immediately move, because the one that we've been using, where you are setting the lifecycle management rule within the package itself, it takes some days. It takes some hours, could be a day, up to 24 hours for it to take effect. Now if you want to bypass that and immediately have your object move to a different class, there is a way of doing that. There's a command that you can use to set that to change the storage class for your object to a different one. So let's take, for example, this packet here. Let me see what I have in here. So I have also a CSV data here, and currently it is in nearline storage. So I set up some, I don't know if I set up lifecycle rule for this. I didn't, but I did use I think I was playing with this one earlier, and I currently this object is in nearline storage. Now assuming you want now to move this one up from nearline storage to standard, or move it down. Really, you want to move it down to cold storage. How do you do that? And you want to do that and see that immediately. Like, right now it's storage class. You want this object to move to the coldline storage or archive storage. So let's move this object to coldline storage using command line utility, and without having to wait for several hours or 8 hours. So the way to do that is by running gsutil command, and I'm going to show you that. So let me just switch over to my CS code and show you that. So let's see what we have. Let's see let's navigate to that packet. So like I mentioned before, to do this, it's gsutil ls. So if you have used Linux, this is basically like ls. But now, because we're interacting with GCS, to do that through the command line, you have to use this gsutil command, and then ls. This is basically just listing the packets that are in your directory. It's the same command that we use in Linux. So this is the packet that I was showing you guys. So if we navigate into that packet, let's list the files that we have in there. We had one file in there, this one here, and like I mentioned, this file here, like we saw, was set to nearline. So we want now to move this file to, let's say, coldline storage. So the command to use for that one, I'm going to paste it here, is this one here. So sorry, that's not the one. Let me just get it properly. So it is gsutil rewrite, and then you specify the storage class. We do that by this flag here, -s. So gsutil rewrite, and then you specify the storage class and the packet where you want this rule to be applied. So here I am choosing the lifecycle demo packet, which is this one up here, and currently there is only one file in there that is currently set to nearline. So I want to move that one up. So let's move it up to standard storage, right? Standard storage. So you just you specify it, and here I am. Let's see. We just want to do files with .csv, but there's just only one there. So let's do that. So let's see what happens. Okay. Right. So yep, that one executed successfully, and it says here one file operation has been completed. So let's switch over to console and see what happened over there, right? So so let's switch over to Chrome. I think my screen should be showing up now. So yeah, so that this file here, this is the one that we mentioned, like we want to move this one to nearline storage. So currently it's still showing up as nearline, but if we refresh, see that it went up to standard. So that one didn't take long. It was just quickly, immediately. Now, assuming now it's in standard, let's move it to archive. All right. So we just do the same thing. We execute that code line, that command line. All right. So here we say that we want to move this one to standard. Now, what if you want to move it over to archive, right? Let's say, we want to move this archive. So we just do the same thing and execute it. And that file now once this command executes, it's going to be moved over to archive storage. So here it executed successfully. So let's see if that went through properly. So let's move over to console, and currently it's in standard, but we executed that command to move it to archive. So it says standard here, but when we refresh it, let's see what happens. See that? It's in archive. So yeah, I mean, you can play with that command whichever way you want to use it. But basically, like I mentioned, just to recap this, there are 3 ways of doing this. The first one is, when you're creating the package itself, you can choose which storage class your objects you want them to go. And then the second one is by setting the lifecycle policy itself in the console, where you can have objects automatically transition, or just say basically transition to whichever storage class you have. And we did. I walked you just through that quick overview of the number of days or the use cases for each one of them. So you have, just to recap, you have standard storage, which is good for you if you are frequently accessing it, and nearline storage for, let me just share my screen again, just that's I was sharing earlier. So you have standard storage for objects that are frequently accessed, and this one you don't get charged for retrieval fee. And then nearline storage, if you are accessing it once a month, there's a fee for 0.01 per gigabyte when you're retrieving it. Coldline storage is good when you only access the data or your objects within that packet once a quarter, and archive is if you access it once a year. And as you can see, the retrieval fee increases as you go down the archive storages. But like I mentioned earlier, the inverse is true also, like that standard storage is a bit more expensive, still comparatively cheaper. It's not like all of the storage classes are not expensive, but if you compare each storage class, standard storage, when you just want to store data, it costs more than the rest of them. So if you just want to dump your data to GCS without having to, you don't touch them, you just want to pack up them, just store them there for whenever you need to access them. So then you can see which one of these storage class best fits your use case. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to show you guys. Let me know if you like this video. You can give thumbs up, or just let me know your comments in the comment section. And if you have any question that I didn't answer and you want me to cover in future, let me know, and then I will go ahead and cover that as well. But yeah, thank you for watching.